if you are to tell a Kenyan that you went 2 classes in 1 year, they'll not believe you. In some developed countries, if your IQ is high, I'm aware that 6 months you can be in this grade, and the next 6 months you can be in the next grade. I'm made aware of that. But what I'm saying is not that, because in some developed countries, there are three systems of learning. An average mind, let's say an average mind would take 6 years in primary, 3 years in junior school, and 3 years in senior school. That is, let's say, an average mind. But if your IQ is higher, instead of taking 6 years in primary school, you take 4 or 5. But if your IQ is below average, instead of taking 6 years, you take 8 years. I've only given an example. But what I have in mind is not that. What I have in mind is going to 2 classes in the same year. I know of 2 people, there could be more, or there are definitely more. One of them is the late General Nkaisere. And the other one, of course, it's me. Let's start with General Nkaisere. When I was in standard 2, I went to a primary school in Kajiado called Township Primary. Standard 3, repeat standard 3 and standard 4, I went to a boarding school nearby called Primary Boarding School, PBS. So in the 60s, in Maasai land, in the 60s, standard 1 and 3 would go to school in the morning and no afternoon lessons. But in other parts of Kenya, especially parts that I have been to, it used to be standard 1, 2, and 3 used to go to school in the morning only. In the afternoon, they don't go. But in Maasai land, day schools, because the boarding school I went to, standard 3 used to go to school in the morning. Standard 2 used to go to school in the morning. But in other day schools in Kajiado, standard 1 and 3 used to go up to noon. That is why you hear the song, Sasa ni saa sita, Sasa ni saa sita, kwa heri mwalimu. But nowadays, you find even standard grade 1 are leaving school very late. Maybe the grade 1 should leave at 3 p.m. so that instead of singing Sasa ni saa sita, Sasa ni saa sita, kwa heri mwalimu, they should start saying Sasa ni saa tisa, Sasa ni saa tisa, kwa heri mwalimu. So standard 1, 2, and 3, morning only, no afternoon lessons. But in day schools in Maasai land, standard 1 and 3, morning classes. Standard 2 used to come at noon and leave at 4. They would come at noon and leave at 4. Because they used to use classrooms that had been used in the morning by standard 1. Standard 1 uses the classroom up to noon. Standard 2 takes over the classroom up to 4. Now, when Nkaisere completed standard 1, he found that he was idle at home when he was in standard 2. He found out that he was idle, whereby he would stay around until lunchtime. So in the morning, Nkaisere used to go to standard 3. He used to go and study with the standard 3. And then when at noon standard 3 would go home, he would go to that classroom which had been vacated by standard 1 and learn with standard 2. So I don't know which year that was, but the year that Nkaisere did his standard 2 is the same year that he did his standard 3. When the results came, he had 2 report forms. Report form for standard 2 said that he was number 5 out of 25 and should be promoted to standard 3. And the report form for standard 3 was saying that he was number 3 out of 25 and he should be promoted to standard 4. So you see, he did better in standard 3 than what he did in standard 2. So he went to standard 4. Viewers, that is how Nkaisere used 1 single year to study 2 classes. Now me, 1969, I was in standard 2. But before that, even before we went to Kajiado, those days in the 90s and up to mid-70s, I don't know when it stopped, nursery schools were not in primary school compounds. No. Nursery schools were accommodated either in social halls or churches. And nursery school teachers, that is why even today we have problems with what do they call them? Anyway, nursery. I hear there is play groups, pre-units. I'm a grandfather. Now, you'll find that even today, those pre-unit teachers have a problem. You find that they are teachers, yes, and they are, in fact, if I recall very well, these kids some even go to school with diapers. And these teachers are, you see, a primary, okay, let's say a kid who is about to join junior school. Take that child. He or she knows a lot of things. And he or she can even go to the hospital and say, I'm sick here, whatever. But a nursery kid, it is the teacher who observes. So you find that these teachers are supposed to be employed by TSC and recognized by TSC. But we are having that problem even up to today. Because during the 60s, they would just take somebody, especially a lady who is idle, and keep those kids and whatever. And even during the 60s, the definition of a nursery school teacher was a play group, whatever. So when I went to join nursery, they used to tell us that you hold one hand over the head and touch the ear on the opposite direction. If you don't, they tell you go back home until next year. My father was not happy. He went to the office dressed in uniform, police uniform, and took me to a primary school. So I never studied in nursery. Just started standard 1. Then later on, I went and studied in Kajiado, standard 2. Now, standard 2 in Kajiado, as I've said, because that one was unique in Maasai land only. When I was in standard 2, my stepbrother and my sister, who is my follower, they would be taken by my mother to school, and I would remain there. But next to us, there was a social hall. There was a social hall where nursery kids would go. Here I am in standard 2. I'm supposed to wait until 11 and then dress up and go to standard 2. I reach a school at noon. But in the nursery school, we would play. We used to play and sing. You hold your hands, you go around this way, you do what, you run. It reaches a time, you are given a cup of porridge. Then from there, you are told to sleep. You sleep, it reaches, I don't know whether we used to sleep or whatever. That is a long time. 1969. Now it reaches at 11, then we are dismissed. And then I walk 15 to 20 meters to our house, change into uniform, go to standard 2. So Nkaisere, when he was in standard 2, he simultaneously attended standard 3. And when I was in standard 2, I simultaneously attended nursery school. That is why I tell people that I went to primary school I went to nursery when I was in standard 2. Finally, I want to talk about school grading nowadays. I had already talked about this, but it was hacked and blocked. You may have noticed that the schools from grade 7, 8 and 9 are no longer being referred to as junior secondary. They are now being referred to as junior school. And then grade 10, 11, and 12 are now being referred to as senior school. I want to say this. When they started calling these schools junior secondary, I wrote a lot of tweets going against that, and I even pushed for those names to be called junior school. Well, whether I was the only one or whatever, the system never acknowledged me or anybody else. They just silently started calling this one's junior school, and when they reach the other place, it will be called senior school. These are my reasoning. When you complete grade 9, during our time, we used to learn a lot of useless things. During our time, we were taught about Al Ghazira irrigation farm in Sudan. We were taught of, Tepes grass in Australia, such things. But nowadays, students are being taught things that are required of them. And I reasoned, and I still reason, that leave alone body maturity or whatever, because we used to have, the prefect in standard 4, my prefect in standard 4, Kajiado, his son was in standard 1, the same school, and his wife and the mother to the son was our is it geography or history teacher? Was one of our teachers. So, but on average of other parts of Kenya, you find that somebody completing standard 7 was very mature body-wise. But when we come to academic, I was reasoning this way. Look at somebody who has completed grade 6 now. I reasoned that this is somebody who is on the same level as somebody who has completed standard 7 CPE or even KCPE or standard 8. And then I reasoned that the 3 years, because the 4 years we were spending in secondary during the 763, we used to study about alfalfa grass. We used to study about Al Ghazira irrigation scheme in Sudan. These people are being taught things that are relevant to them, things that they can see. So, using 3 years, that is grade 7, 8, and 9, I was asking, is it the person who has completed grade 9, is he or she equivalent is he or she equivalent to a person who has done Form 4? Or is he or she equivalent to somebody who used to do Kenya Junior Secondary Examination? We have Kenyans out there with a certificate called KJSE, Kenya Junior Secondary Examination. First of all, I never respect anybody who has done KJSE, because those are failures who had failed in the primary and were given a second chance in Form 2, which was the 9th grade. So if you continue calling grade 7, 8, and 9, you call them junior second, then whoever graduates that, then he has KJC, Kenya Junior Secondary Examination. But I told them, with the squeezed, compact, with the compact syllabus, then it would be better for them to be equated to Form 4. And why don't you just call it junior school? And senior school, that is grade 10, 11, and 12. That one is more or less like our A-levels. Me, I did A-levels, maths, geography, and economics, plus Kiswahili. So you find that the 844, if you want to be a doctor, I saw the 2022 candidates, those who scored A minus could not go for doctorship. And for you to get A minus, for you to get A plane, you have to pass languages. And for you to be a lawyer, you have to pass sciences. And lawyer wanted what we used to call arts. Nowadays, they are called humanities. So the senior school is like high school. You know, high school during our time was Form 5, Form 6. Secondary school is Form 1 to Form 4. So senior school, you are given a cluster of subjects that will determine your future. If you want to be a lawyer, I've only given 2 examples. You do humanities. If you want to be a doctor, you go for PCB, physics, chemistry, and biology, for 3 years. And I tell you, completing 3 years studying 3 subjects, you go to a law school, you become a first-class lawyer. You go to a medical school, you become a first-class doctor. And that, viewers, is what I had for today.